There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonko table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonko table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yayo, folks. Welcome to the latest and the greatest from the Yonko table. That is the voice of Grandmaster Hoop coming at you from the backs of Arax or the backs of Vagar, because we're flying into the Season 1 finale of House of the Dragon. That's right, folks. We're back to cover the hit Game of Thrones spinoff, George R.R. Martin written and produced HBO series House of the Dragon that, goodness gracious, has, dare I say, swept the world by storm in traditional Game of Thrones fashion, but with a spice of something new. Because boy, oh boy, we had a finale tonight, and we're gonna pick this thing apart because a lot went down, a lot of setup here, a lot of payoff too. But goodness gracious, did we walk out of here a little sad? But hey, we'll get there. With me, as always, is fellow Yonko, Dr. Jace Attorney. Dr. Jace Attorney, did you bother to learn that old High Valyrian song?
Ew, no. It was cool. I liked it. I liked it when it was being sung. I was like, oh yeah, that'll be a nice lyric to look up. But I ain't learning old Valyrian. I'm sorry.
It's on Duolingo. Just throwing that out there.
Is it? Ooh, okay.
That and Dothraki. So
interesting.
No more excuses.
I'll add it to my list.
Cool.
But this was a grand finale. I enjoyed it from beginning to end, and there's a lot to deep dive in here. I feel like there's a lot of character transformations that happened throughout the episode, especially with its ending. I think we're left in a very questionable state as to where we're gonna go from here. Well, not necessarily where we're gonna go. We know relatively what's going to happen. It's going to be chaos, but you know, it's interesting to see the state of certain characters, especially towards the end. This is kind of interesting, at least for me, because I caught up to Game of Thrones when season 6 had already aired. So this is and I know some people are indifferent to season 7 and especially season 8. So this is my first time, watching Game of Thrones, so to speak, weekly. And overall, the season's pretty well written. It's quality. The first time I watched season 7 weekly, and I was like, oh, okay. They Avenger assembled along the wall in that one scene. And here in season 7, I'm like, oh, great. This is what I caught up to. Fantastic. But now with House of the Dragon, it feels more at home. And now I get to bear the burden of waiting another 2 years for another quality season of House of the Dragon. So I'm excited.
I forgot it might be a 2-year wait. That's very discomforting to hear. But if they keep serving quality, I guess. But we are not alone, of course. This is an epic finale. So, of course, we need some epic voices joining us here tonight. Let's see who will be joining us here at the table. All right. I don't even know where to begin, honestly. Overall, it left on a great cliffhanger. I think overall the episode was very enjoyable. I think what we have here is a great kind of what will they do next type of episode, and you kind of see everybody wanting everybody to do something, and then it's like, Cole, let's take a step back, let's reassess the situation before we do anything hastily. And I feel that was what happened the whole episode. But overall, I think traditionally, I think it was a great finale. Definitely leaves you wanting more. 2 years, but I can wait. Very grim note where we ended, but overall, I enjoyed it. Dr. Rika, let's hear from you real quick. This finale, where does it sit?
So I have been waiting to see. I had two theories about how the season could have ended. This was one of them. So I'm not like excited. I'm sad because of what the ending was, but I do feel some kind of like, oh, I was right about kind of maybe where they were going and some ideas about how the start of season 2 could potentially be, but that's for 2 years from now. What I will say, I did think it was really interesting, and they mentioned this in like the behind the episode, that it started, obviously Rhaenys comes in and shares what had happened in King's Landing, but it started with another birth. Similar to the very first episode, so it's kind of like capping off this idea of where women are within the realm and what the duties are, and conversations that Rhaenyra herself has had with her mother. My cat is very eager to have some conversation too. And then her greatest fear, which was dying similar to her mother, potentially, that was a potential moment within this episode. So I thought it was interesting that we opened this episode the way that we opened kind of the first episode as well, with similar grim, unfortunate happenstances. But I really enjoyed the episode overall, and I'm sure we'll kind of dig into each of the parts. Because similar to last week, we just, it's nice to have a lot of time with certain characters and see all the dynamics that we don't get to see as much when it's bouncing between multiple kind of storylines, when we're just really focused on, we're at Dragonstone, momentarily at Storm's End, which we've never seen before within the show, so that was kind of cool too, which we'll get to that pretty soon. But yeah, an enjoyable episode, and Rhaenyra, man, just not a great experience.
She definitely went through a lot in this episode alone. Goodness.
It's not a great day for Rhaenyra. I hate to wake up and get the news she got and then go through the day she had. And then the next day, no time to mourn, no time to wallow. Gotta get the ball rolling. And then you got people in your ear being like, hey, squish the rebellion. No. But here, let me not get ahead. A lot has transpired, but as you said, because we're in one location, it's very much easy to go ahead and focus and hone in on what's presented here. Last week, we got the Green Council, and we got their scheming and mechanizing, and where we left off. Again, it's good to note, with a series full of time jumps, it has been a day or two. King Viserys is dead. Prince Aegon, second of his name, has been crowned king of the realm, and the Greens have made their move, and the Greens are moving. Rhaenys disrupts that whole celebration, decides to fly back to Dragonstone and present this information, and here we are. We are in the hall of the Black Queen, and we're in Dragonstone. We're focusing on Team Black. Now, interestingly enough, this episode opens with Lucerys.
Oh yeah, it does.
It sure does.
I remember, and they were having a very parent to child conversation. Very heartwarming in the beginning. I enjoyed that element of it. It did. Looking back at it, it should have spelled like a clear sign of something bad's gonna happen. Likely.
Looking back at that, right? I was like, damn, this is the classic. Let's feel bad for this character. Let's watch them rise up, just for them to fall. But worth pointing out. But yes, we get that nice little mother-son time, and it's just a reminder that at the heart of really the series, it's a tale of parents and children, and kind of just taking on the burdens that your parents put upon you, and dealing with their mistakes, and dealing with their, sometimes lies and, dishonesty. replicating them, right? And that's kind of been the overall theme, is that these children are at the whim of their parents, and it really trickles down to them. So, I mean, right off rip, Lucerys is like, "Oh, it should have went to Vaemon," you know.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
And again, think about it, you know, in an ideal world, had she just come clean, they'd probably be living a nice little life in an ideal Westeros, but not the case here. And just interesting little, you know, character setup with Lucerys. You know, he's always been a punk, but he cares about stuff. You know, he sees the rights and wrongs of it all. I feel he's the MVP of this episode, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
Lucerys?
Lucerys. I don't know. I like to pour one out for Lucerys.
I think he did his duty. He did his duty. What he what he was instructed to do. It just didn't end the way I'm sure he anticipated. We'll get to. I really want to talk about that bit.
I want to get to it too. I just want to point out he kickstarts this episode, but here we go. I would like to call this the premature war. This is a premature war. Rhaenys arrives. She drops the knowledge. Viserys is dead. Aegon, they gave it to Aegon. And premature war announcement, or imminent war.
Oh, wow. Premature. Go ahead. Leads
to
go.
Premature birth. And
there we go.
I was like, damn. Because it's like, yeah, just kind of dominoed. It was like, that is the last thing she wanted to hear. And then, yes, as Dr. Rika pointed, I think there was a couple of parallels to earlier episodes this season, this being high key one of them. And oh man, just kind of a lot happened here. She gets that news, and then immediately she starts feeling it. I don't even know how to describe this, but obviously something's wrong. And what we get here, oh man, which is so good too. So, you know, obviously she's about to have a miscarriage. I mean, as far as we know, it looks like it's going to be bad. It's a premature birth. We know this. We don't know if it's going to be a miscarriage or not. But what we get is, you know, whole time she's trying to grapple with the fact that her dad's dead, and they just skipped over her like she was nothing. Clearly something Rhaenys has probably felt before too. But at the same time, she's like not asking for help.
Yes.
Right. And she's like standing up the whole time. And meanwhile, audibly, she can be heard from, you know, the room with the table where all the planning is going on. And it's like, Daemon does not have time for what's going on with his wife and this birth, which is so interesting because, you know, when we saw the birth of when Laena was giving birth, he was all there by her side, you know, concerned. And now he's like concerned for, you know, the war and going on. Is he's over here making plans and sending ravens, and you hear her, Daemon.
And he's just in his own little world at his war table, conducting war, or at least planning for war.
But it's so interesting because it's like there's so many things going on here. We open up the series with a miscarriage that ended up in a death of a character. Then we have middle of the season, same thing with Laena, and you kind of see, you know, Viserys is more concerned. Is it a boy? You know, I need an heir type of thing, despite loving his wife. And then you got Daemon and Laena. Daemon's concerned about Laena living and not the child. And then you have now Rhaenyra and Daemon. And Daemon's like, the disrespect for them putting that crown on Aegon's head, you know?
In front of the masses, the public.
Right. And interestingly enough, too, he's like, you know, he thinks they killed Viserys. Like he thinks foul play.
Oh, straight up. I mean, well, why wouldn't he?
Right. But his whole focus is simply, let's get this ball rolling on this war, while his wife is in the other room struggling, you know.
Clinging for life.
And we've
My
seen this
goodness.
before as far as of his ambitions and interests in the stepstones. Like, it's not a part of his character that we haven't seen, where some of his interests lie versus others. And this scene is just rough. I mean, I think pretty similarly to what we talked about at the very beginning of the season. And I am aware of some of the other scenes that we've seen birth that were directed by women. We got a very different experience compared to some of the scenes of birth that were directed by men, because I believe this episode was also directed by a man, similar to the first one, I think.
Yes.
And I was like,
First one was a
damn,
woman.
like,
Episode
No.
Episode
No.
one. No?
Episode 1's not a woman. It's Miguel Sapochnik, the showrunner, co-showrunner, did one, and then Greg Unitas did this one.
Oh, okay.
and I believe me and Nino have talked about this before, kind of the differences and quite a lot of the ways things are shot with the women when a man is directing versus a woman. Because I was watching this and just like feeling like, oh, okay, like, did we really? I knew it was happening based off of just book information that, she lost a child. I believe it was supposed to be a daughter. I could be wrong about that though. But so I knew it was happening. It's just that, again, some of the way that it's filmed. And she has a lot of grief and loss throughout the episode anyway. And I do think it's interesting the hyper focus that we got on this versus the scene towards the end of like, everyone knows that is listening at this point that we will talk about Luke's death. But there were parts that felt very different for me, of like the very, like, I'm going to focus in on this deceased child versus we see the dragon ripped apart and then everything's kind of falling into the sky. So I think there's something there that certainly kind of gave me the, okay, we know it's bad for women. We know, but damn, y'all. Okay.
It was pretty grotesque, the amount that they showed in this episode with that miscarriage scene. I was surprised. I mean, they showed everything. They really showed everything. It was a little unsettling. I think even more so than episode 1, to be fair. But at least it lasted like, I guess 5-10 minutes. 10 minutes probably.
It stayed for a bit.
It was significant. But yeah, I mean, they had their little funeral for the child, Damon, and at least Damon's there in that moment. It's one of those things where, like you said, Damon's off at his war table, which, by the way, they didn't light the actual, like, real war table yet, right? The oh god, they called it something in this episode. The painted table. The painted table.
This is the painted table. No,
the one in my background that wasn't lit up yet, right? When
no, they didn't light it. They didn't light it yet.
Okay.
Until
this table was amazing, man. I want that as a dinner table. It looks so cool.
Actually, it is pretty cool. I think intricately designed, very nice. And then put the log underneath.
Yes, and it lights up all slowly, one at a time. I love it.
Right. But yeah, it's just thematically though. It's like this war should never have happened, and then it's premature, leads to a premature birth. But now it's like we have to pick up the pieces, and I think, and if I line this up right, we get again Damon making moves. He's okay, yes, he was there for the baby, but then he's like, hey, you two Kingsguards, come with me real quick. Let's see how loyal you are, I almost got another Joker line for this, but when he pulls them aside and Caraxi shows up and he's like, why don't I cut you up to your and feed you to your pooches and see how loyal a hungry dog really is, that's what came to my head. But he's right. They're Kingsguard. People got to make moves. Shit has hit the fan. the fan has been hit. Someone's got to make moves. I feel for Damon in this instance. It's like, know who your enemies are, get your allies under control, and let's start prepping, So I get it. Caraxes, make them shit their pants real quick, and let's swear some fealties. I get it. But your wife now has to quickly overcome that grief. And I think what we get next is a very, very big moment. And they talked a little bit about it in the behind the episode. And I hate when they talk about things that I'm like, I want to talk about that. And now it looks like I'm piggybacking. I'm not. I thought of this and I wrote it down.
Did you
before. I did.
Okay, good.
Well, we have Sir Eric first show up.
Right.
With Viserys's crown.
The crown.
Right.
Where did he snatch that in the last episode?
He must have snatched it. He must.
Okay.
I didn't recall him snatching it though.
Okay. Off screen.
Off screen, yeah.
Also, I can't believe he made it out of there too. Like,
yeah, because where was he positioned for? Like his last scene was when they went to go get Aegon, right? Or
no, he was assisting Rhaenys. And I guess I guess he got out of there.
Right. Okay, yeah.
I guess he got out of there in the chaos. Because after that, I don't think they're worried about who's running away or not.
Actually, how did he go back to Dragonstone then? He went on horseback and got there in like a day? Is that how close it is?
Dragonstone's not too far.
Yeah,
it's not too far? Okay.
Yeah, no, not too far. But yeah, just a very touching moment, Viserys' crown. And it's everybody who's anybody knows that's what his true wishes were Rhaenyra. But I think we have what I call the Black Council meeting, and they said it in the after credit too, but I came up with it.
Of course.
The Black Council meeting. This is a big moment for Rhaenyra. She's gotta own it, Viserys is dead, your training's over, and now we're on the brink of war. What say you, my queen? And I think she owns it.
I think she needed to see that. Yeah, she needed to see it and hear it from people around her, because her entire life has been people questioning her claim to that power. Like multiple times. Like how many times did Viserys have to reaffirm, like, for the last time, Rhaenyra is the successor to the Iron Throne. We don't need to keep going over this. But I feel like, and they said it in the behind the episode segment, but I feel like that was a way to reaffirm her position of power that she needed to see, because I feel like after going through, that miscarriage and then learning about her father's death, she's feeling at her lowest, likely at that point. And she hits another low later in the episode. She tries to rise like a phoenix above the ashes, but she gets sent tumbling back down time and time again. It's sad,
but she does great in this. She does not fumble once. I don't think she.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
She was like, who are our allies? My mother is like related to the Aarons. Let's get word out there. There's never a Stark that never broke an oath. Let's, get Winterfell and Storm's End. Those were the big three, which is very cool because, given fans of the original, those are three major houses throughout the original series run.
So were they like the Leo scene? When they hear those names, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
ooh, I remember those houses.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a good fandom who are like, ooh, who are the present day Starks here? I want to see the Starks way back when. Let's see how they are doing. But just very cool. Just like reminder that these houses have been around for a while, and there's power in names, not in blood.
Oh God, you're still parroting that. Ew.
Yes, rightfully so, because here she makes a claim that they have House Velaryon, which is not necessarily true yet. Interestingly enough, did you see Rhaenys bow or kneel to
She did not.
Rhaenyra at any point?
Nope.
Nope.
She did not. And I mean,
Nope.
she even addressed. I'm glad that they, you know, with the ending of last week's episode, where all over social media, people that watched episode 9, there was that discussion of like, oh my God, the series could have just ended here if Rhaenys just torched Aegon and the rest of them. Why didn't she do that? And we kind of talked about it last week too. That was very purposeful. It wasn't like you know, a misdirection in writing. I'm glad that they addressed it in this episode as well, because I think it's Daemon. Daemon's the one that brings it up to her, saying, you had an opportune moment. Why didn't you do that? And what she says, it's not my war to initiate. I'm not doing that. Make me.
I think she's completely in the right.
I think she is too. I think
Right.
she is too.
And again, shows a lot of grace too, stepping up to Daemon, saying, you know, outright, you know, this is not my fight. You know, I will support where I can, but ideally, I am not going to blatantly murder. And as we said again, we get a lot of perspectives of mothers. You know, she's not coming to Daemon as a mother in this scene. She's coming as a third party, you know, Greens versus blacks, and here are the House Velaryon. But at the heart of a lot of this is, again, like this ideal of parents and having their children inherit their problems. Rhaenys has no children to inherit her problems. And the closest thing she has to children are her grandchildren, who I know she does not want to be involved in this. However, I believe she has a change of heart. But before we get to her change of heart, we get a standoff. Mr. Hightower shows up. Again, Otto Hightower's balls grew 10 sizes that day.
That bridge is very iconic. How many times have we seen that damn bridge? Like,
This is the same shot.
it's the same shot. It makes
They
me wonder if some of it's copy and paste.
No, they filmed these two shots on the same
Back
day.
to back. So
And they got Millie, aka young Rhaenyra. They said, all right, Millie, see ya. Bring in Darcy. Let's go. You know? And then bam, they just I believe it too. And it's just, you know, it's cool how go ahead.
I liked the kind of update that we got though of, you know, the last time we had a scene like this, it was to challenge Daemon and to really solidify Rhaenyra's claim. And this gives us another opportunity to do so, but now ascending the throne, you know, as a queen. So I really liked that they kind of came back to this. We talked about how there's been a few. I think the theme of the episode, beyond some of what we talked about thus far, is like the parallels, like the things that we come back to, the things that kind of wrap themselves around, you know, from earlier in the season to either a new renewed scene, or payback in a way. But we'll talk about that soon, because I think there's some interesting elements to that last piece. But I like the revisits that we've gotten, but just with a different flavor and different meaning.
Yes, because here, I mean, the first time we visited this bridge, which you can visit this bridge, first of all, I'd just like to throw that out. You can visit this bridge. You know, it was the first time around, very masculine toxicity. I feel that first time around where it was Otto versus Daemon, you know. This time around, Otto is an extension of Alicent. This is Alicent trying to reach out to Rhaenyra and appeal to, you know, their friendship their love. The queen has not forgotten the love you two once shared. I was looking at that thing. I was like, what is this? Is this a picture from a
Yeah,
picture book?
I'm guessing it's something that, from their childhood, like a coloring book or something that they shared. It's clearly from their childhood.
No, it was ripped out. We saw Rhaenyra rip it out in the first episode. It's from the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I
Okay.
was saying lots of revisiting
So she kept
previous
that
episodes.
for 20 plus years. Goodness.
To show their friendship.
To show their friendship. And you kind of hear it through Otto's tone a little bit too. He's really trying to butter up Daemon and specifically Rhaenyra. He's saying that, acknowledge Aegon's the king, and with that, you guys can live in Dragonstone. Your heirs will lay claim to Dragonstone, and he throws in some other offers in there, like Lucerys will be,
Still
the
King of Tides.
King of Tides, right? And basically, you guys can keep to yourselves, lay your own claims to your own little cities and towns and different regions, but all you got to do, acknowledge Aegon's king. That's all you got to do. And then, he offers her that drawing, or the page from the book that was ripped out. And that actually gets to Rhaenyra. Like she's taken aback. She's like, "Oh wow, this is Alicent like really trying to make amends," because Rhaenyra came in there on Dragonback. I think she was ready.
Same thing she did last time.
Same thing she did last
Flies
time.
in on Cyrax. Yeah.
Right. And ooh, some little symbolism there, right? She came in the same way in that early episode on Cyrax, but when she went through the guards to confront Daemon, she was on opposing sides with him. But now
Yes.
she's walking through that same crowd, those same high towers that were on her side back then, and now she's with our boy Daemon. Lovely Daemon. Everyone loves Daemon. But yeah, this scene was really cool. I actually liked it. And then now she's kind of like having second thoughts when she's presented with that offer from Hightower, and she's like, "All right, you guys will have our decision on the morrow." It was cool.
Oh, I didn't think about how on the morrow is such a big deal, given how. Right. So again, Otto Hightower, big balls. We have to remember, he does not want to do this right here. He wanted to kill them from the get-go. Right.
It's the easiest
So-
option.
Right. So but remember, so like more credit to Alicent last episode saying this, how, kind of she's no longer going to be kind of like, a pawn in his game. She's going to take control. She's going to, start trying to mold Aegon how she sees fit. We're not going to be out here just, murdering my late husband's daughter. We're going to try to keep the peace in the realm. And that's what Rhaenyra wants too, to keep that peace in the realm. She's worried about the Song of Ice and Fire. However, in both of these instances, what we see is division among the teams. Daemon is ready to go. Daemon said, "Let me feed this message back in your mouth, Otto, with your head severed, and you take that back." He's ready to go. Rhaenyra is not. There is division on both sides. And I like that there's this division, because you said it. She's on his side. But are they seeing eye to eye?
They're not.
No, they're not.
No. And
They,
that comes to a boiling point later on. They have to confront that, after they converge on the war table. But this scene was powerful. There were so many powerful scenes in this episode, just back to back.
yeah. Otto Hightower, Otto Hightower hightails it out of there. Get the answer on the morrow. We go back to the table. This table talk is cut short. Clear the room. Give us the room, because it's this back and forth as far as we don't have enough swords. But Daemon's like, we have more dragons. We have 3 dragon eggs. There's 3 unaccounted for dragons. We can win this. We got this. And
How many in total they had? They had like 14. 14 to their 3.
is that what it is?
I think that was the
14?
number. It was
Yeah, they do
yes.
have a lot.
It was a
Dang.
lot, to the point where it's like, wow. I mean, yeah, they got Vagar on Allison's side, but 14 v3. I mean, there's strength in numbers. A lot of those little dragons can do some damage.
How much does Vagar count?
Probably a couple
Uh,
dragons.
If
Couple
you're gonna
dragons.
How many?
Like-
Like
Probably a
5?
couple just on
at
her
least?
own.
Yeah, at least. If I were to give a number, a solid 5. A solid 5. Probably a little bit more than that too. The dude's massive. He's massive.
He
It's
is
a she.
massive.
They're-
She's massive.
yeah.
So-
Oh,
sorry.
she. Oh, that's right. Is
Yeah.
the other dragon we see this episode also a she?
I don't know,
one that-
actually, I don't know about Arax.
No, not Arax. The one that
Oh,
Damon goes to see.
Vermithor.
Oh,
Vermithor.
that is, I don't have a lot of. I don't even know.
Ooh.
I just met that dragon too.
I just
They got a lot of
realized we-
dragons. The issue is they don't have enough riders.
They
And
don't.
Right.
Yeah, that is the big
I
issue.
think they-
Yes, they have all of these dragons, but you actually need people to be able to ride them.
I think they mention there's Bela. Bela has a dragon, but the other one does not. What's the other one's name?
Reyna.
Reyna. Reyna is not riding a dragon. So that's who they're looking towards. But very interestingly enough, Rhaenyra does not wish to set the realm to ashes. Interesting how some of her descendants see otherwise.
Oh, ew. Ew.
No, not ew. It's a
Ew.
big deal. It's a big deal. Dragons are destructive.
They are.
are.
And
They
they're
are.
hard to control.
As we
Clearly.
clearly see. Sometimes
Right.
you're just playing some games and the dragons are like, oh no, we're taking this a step up. Hold on. And oh,
yeah,
man.
you know the Michael Jordan meme where he's like, I took that personally.
Yes.
Vagar. I took that personally.
I agree. No. I
Yeah,
agree.
that's what
Very
happened.
applicable.
But I get Rhaenyra's point. Keep the realm, hold the peace, unite the realm. We are not setting loose 14 dragons to go burn down our enemies. We're not doing that. We're not
She's
gonna
showing restraint.
restrain. However, she's like, Damon says, that's your father talking. And now we start seeing kind of, I mean, he's always been about that. He's always been about action versus words. He always wanted Viserys to get off his ass, and he even went as far to say, my brother was always into his, I think he said omens.
Omens and prophets? Omens and prophecies?
Something of the sort.
Yeah,
Right.
that was in response to when she brought up the Song of Ice and Fire to him.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Viserys never told Daemon. Ooh, and he feels salty about it.
Does he feel? Yes, I think.
Not necessarily
I think-
salty.
I think.
but
I think there's a chime of salt.
right.
But I think again the biggest thing is that, he always said his brother wasn't suit for this role of king, but he wasn't gonna usurp his brother. But now he's again Rhaenyra's main teacher here is Viserys, and she truly believes in the Song of Ice and Fire. And this does not sit well with Daemon, and I think we start seeing the real Daemon again. I think we've had a very tamed Daemon these last couple of episodes, and I think we see the Ides of Daemon coming out.
Yeah, what
That
was
was it.
that about?
What do you mean? Because he's like, I'm so sick of Viserys' shit, and you weren't supposed to be inheriting that shit, so I'm gonna choke it out of you. And I'm sure she liked it too, but also it was like a challenge to her authority. It was intense. It was intense because I'm like, damn, I forgot that Damon's kind of a piece of shit still.
Don't forget what he did to get to this point. He did a lot.
He did a lot. I forgot it, and then I was reminded.
It does make me think of, I know a lot of people were talking about one of the writers had given an interview, and she was saying, yeah, I don't know why a lot of people like Damon. And I have seen people that like genuinely like him. I feel like the times that we have discussed him, there has been continued skepticism of like, is that thing he said funny? Yes. Is that particular behavior he did very suspicious and really bad? Also yes. And so I think this goes to show like I felt like we haven't been like all our eggs in the Damon basket. I think we've been intrigued about some of this characterization, but like you said, Grandmaster, he's still as problematic as many other characters, and I think if anything that scene shows it. And again, just Rhaenyra is really struggling in this episode in terms of a lot of her experiences, whether with her kids, with her husband, the loss of her father, the loss of the throne, just really stacking up a lot of things against her in terms of what she's been experiencing.
And it sucks that her husband is now kind of
a part of it as well.
Right, that was supposed to be your main support. Probably who she probably thought she was going to get the most support from, but nah, they're not connecting. I wrote this one down because I love it. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. Ooh.
All about that action. Gotta take control. Gotta take action.
Right. We gotta step up. Gotta step up. But it's time for other people to step up too. Time for people to get up out of bed and stop complaining. Our boy's back, baby. The sea snake is alive and well, baby.
Hooray.
Yeah.
No.
Lord Corlys, my brother.
Go back to sleep.
Don't you do that. Don't do that. He's a great guy.
Goodness.
He loves his grandsires. He hates Rhaenyra, though.
Everything that woman touches, but what is it? Burns to ash. What does he say?
Oh, damn. I don't know.
You're the Corlys rep. What are you doing?
I wrote down a different quote from Corlys.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want the quote?
Yeah, I mean, give me a reason to appreciate Corlys in this moment.
I don't know about this moment. I think you appreciate Rhaenys in this moment.
Oh, for sure, Rhaenys.
Corlys is obviously, it's just, again, it's very interesting. You have a character like Rhaenys who understands, yes, Rhaenyra was complicit in their son's death. I need them to come clean. Cat's out of the bag.
They won't. No.
I don't think it will be the end of the world if these parents know that their son is alive.
Won't they even be more pissed? Because it's been like 6 years or something.
Oh, they'll be pissed at the son.
Who else conspired for it to happen?
It don't matter. He was like, yes, I want to run away from my parents and this life and these luxuries. I want to be free with Carl.
Carl of all
Get
people.
back in the house, Carl.
Ew.
Watch the dead fame.
Nope. I knew what it was.
Oh, yes.
It was gross.
But yes, I think you appreciate Rhaenys more here because again, it's like here is a repeat, the queen that should have been type of scenario. Where Rhaenys is like, let's not repeat that, okay? Let's not repeat that. Let's not repeat myself and you for that part because your ambition wanted that throne. Let's put that aside, man. We don't have children. We got our grandchildren who are promised to our grandchildren. So let's just see our grandchildren get married,
Let's see them marry each other.
And let's have some peace. And then let's go back to high tide. But it's like, we got a job to do here. We got to do something. I have seen the follies of ambition. The high towers have too much ambition. Get your black ass up and let's get going.
And he did. He got up.
And
he got up.
He
Well,
got up.
I think it's also that she mentions it wasn't just that she mentioned. She also mentioned that like, because Corlys like made a comment that Rhaenyra, everything that she touches turns to ash, like all her ambitions, and
Yeah.
Rhaenys was just kind of like, she's the only one that's like standing in the way of everybody just killing each other right now.
Mhm.
So I think we need to give her more credit because she's literally stopping and all that war from happening. So I
And
think at that point, it moved him that he was like, I'm wrong about this person. I should, lay my ships to her.
I'm thinking too the comment about like, even if we were to go back to Driftmark and remain neutral with our grandkids, they're next in line for the throne. So that's never going to happen. Like they're never not going to be in the action of some sort. So I think both of those things together felt like they were motivators.
Yes. I think the tipping point, he wanted to see her in action. And that's when we get his kind of another slow walk. House of the Dragons.
There's a lot of these.
Their
Goodness.
little walks. The walk of Lord Corlys. Hobbling on that cane as well. And I think he allows Rhaenyra to he says, show me what you got. What's going on? What's the lay of the field? How many houses to our side? How many dragons? And then she mentions, we hope to get, Baratheon, Stark, and Tully. And this is the quote that I wrote down. He said, hope is a fool's ally. I like that. And I agree. Hope is a thought. Hope ain't a house.
You're a Corlys stan, man. I
am a Corlys stan. I am a
Corlys.
Corlys stan.
I like him. It's just I feel like you became more of a Corlys stan after the Vaemond bit.
No, I've always liked
pretty
Corlys.
consistent. I can
Yes,
Okay,
I
back
mean,
you up.
thank you. And also, too, here we go talking about parallels. He once gave advice to Viserys, who did not listen to his advice. And now we have the same opportunity presented here to Rhaenyra, who, unlike Viserys, is now listening to his counsel. Obviously, I would hope she would because she needs those shifts. But, it's cool to see. It's like he's been around. He had the opportunity to help Viserys, his wife's cousin. And now he's got this opportunity to help his wife's cousin's daughter. And he's steadfast. Again, he doesn't give the full support until after, she kind of proves, that she is deserving in this conversation. But yeah, it's just like kind of a mutual respect type thing, He also looks over and sees his grandchildren sitting next to the betrothed grandchildren. He sees all his grandchildren knowing that they're going to get married. And
Oh,
he's
those
like,
are oh wow.
those are
okay.
all his grandchildren.
Oh god. Wait, so Lucerys and Jacaerys, they're both betrothed to
Yeah,
Baena.
Yes.
Is it Baena?
yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow.
established a couple
Bael-
episodes ago.
Right.
Yeesh. Oh my
And he's
God.
like, man, I appreciate Rhaenyra marrying my grandchildren to their grandchildren.
What a good deed.
And he looks
Fantastic.
at that and he's like, that's a family photo right there.
Okay. Anyway,
I think he understands that, yes, his ambition has already got him nowhere except pain, And so he's like, you have the full support of House Velaryon and our fleets. AK, also, I secured the stepstones for you. So we got the whole
For
narrow sea.
now. For now.
Meleys is about to run that whole thing. Rhaenys and Meleys leaving, they guard in the narrow sea. They got it on lock as of right now. Also, put somebody on Sea Smoke. They got this. They got the Narrow Sea. It's over, baby. They got it. What do you mean for now? It's unchallenged.
They keep losing it.
Nope. He said, I left the garrison there. We ain't ever losing this again.
They're gonna lose it again.
Nah.
they're way too inconsistent.
Nah. The only way they lose this is if your boy Vagar comes in and says, eat shit and die. See Snake? And that's the only way.
Well, he did that to someone.
He did that to someone. And we're getting there. It's time to send messengers.
Ravens.
Well, dragons are faster than ravens.
If only he did not propose that.
Mistake number one. Who said that? Jacaerys?
That was just Jacaerys that said that. Luke Harris was like, oh, well, thanks, brother.
No, that was not. It's not a mistake. I think that was the right call to do. Unfortunately, it just turned out bad. Like there was a risk.
Oh yeah, logistically, it made sense to do it, considering they are faster than ravens. It was a mistake in the sense that, well, you're gonna die. Like literally, that proposal leads to at least one of their deaths. We don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, I think the mistake is they underestimated the Greens in this moment. You know,
yeah.
I think maybe they didn't think that they would be sending envoys, or maybe they would just, they have Tywin Lannister, so they have all the Riverlands and whatnot in the Lannister fleet. Storm's End should be no problem. Luke, you're going to Storm's End. That's a short distance. You'll be back home in no time. Jace, you're going to King's Landing, but y'all are just...
No, Jace
I'm sorry, not King's Landing. Sorry,
Winterfell. He goes to the Vale.
Right, sorry. I don't know why I said King's Landing. You'll be back in no time, Luke.
I really like that. I really like that scene with Rhaenyra, and Luke and Jace, because it seems that it's interesting to see that Rhaenyra, as a person who's so been a rebel this entirety of her life, is also the one who, when she does have children, she embraces them and cares for them and treats them like children, compared to Alicent, who doesn't treat her. I don't know what she treats Aegon like, but it's definitely not like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
and
it's
personally.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't think there was a mistake that was made. I think this was just these are the hazards of what a war brings. I think they made the right call in terms of okay, if you're actually going to send the dragons, you send the dragons. I don't think there was any sense of oh, we didn't think ahead. That's just what happens. I think based off what we see with the last scene too, was unexpected for a lot of people involved. So I don't think it was a mistake to send Jace or Luke wherever they were sent. I think it's just what happens within war as a result, which we've been kind of building up the last few weeks of people who don't really deserve to die, ultimately die because of the certain decisions that were made much before they were even a part of any of this. So I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was unfortunate more than anything when we get to talking about the end.
I'm going to say this. I bet you they never send anybody alone again, even if with just a message. Or you better know how to
learn. I don't think it's a mistake, though.
I think part of that, too, is going into the mistake element. I forgot who it was that brought it up to Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra at the war table was bringing up, the different houses that she believes should still swear fealty to her because, these old promises from generations ago, remember X amount of years, 20, basically the current king's, or I guess the current lord's father made a promise that they would, swear oath to me. And I forgot who it was that brought it up. Maybe it was Corlys, maybe it was Daemon, but someone brought up like, that doesn't mean anything. We don't know what these people's agendas are now. Who was it that said that? Was it Corlys? Maybe it was Corlys. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was a okay. So essentially someone brought that up, and I feel like Rhaenyra kind of was banking on that a little bit, because the mistake part was, maybe it's not necessarily her just sending Lucerys and Jacaerys alone by themselves, but I think she's banking on the fact that, well, they promised generations ago that they would swear their houses to me. Whereas someone like we see later, Aemon, when he approaches, they come with a bargain. They come with an offer. And it's like, hey, we're not going to bank on, what we promised ages ago. We have an offer right here, right now. You swear to us, this is what we're giving you. And of course, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, or am I jumping ahead? Are we here or no?
We're here technically.
I think we're here. Yeah, we're
We're
here.
here. Okay. Well, what? Right? Lucerys gets sent to Storm's End.
Storm's
This is
End,
the Baratheon house.
Baratheon. Yep.
Okay.
This is the first time we ever seen Storm's End, right?
Really?
Proper. Because in
Wow.
the original series we see the Stormlands, but there it's not done to the effect that we see a storm. So it's kind
Okay.
of like the Stormlands kind of just look like a field with clouds over them in the original series. So
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
really cool to see that it's this big storm that's going on, and it's this castle. Like we it's interesting to see it like that, because we were here originally in episode 4, like after,
Yes,
like when
yes.
Rhaenyra, that was where the
That
two
little
people
boy.
from- yeah.
Oh, it was
gutted
here
the
in
other
this
one.
castle that they did
Yes,
that.
it was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's why she was banking on it, because she was like, "You've known me for many years." So you know what I mean. That's why it was. They were talking like that, but now it's all for naught, because we see Aemon has already arrived.
Well, and again, two things. Oh man, I forgot my first thing. But the other thing, it is such a cool. I thought it was such a really cool sequence when he first lands. Arak's there, and then you see Vhagar off on the
Parked
other side.
outside.
So you're like, damn, Aemon's here. That means shit's not gonna go well. Oh, the other thing was the High Towers know they have an uphill battle here, because most of the lords of Westeros all, swear fealty to Rhaenyra in her claim. So they know they gotta be offering these things to really sweeten the deal. And talking about the mistakes bit, I understand as far as it's the best thing to do to send the dragons. However, not coming with an offer and just leaning on the whole, they're going to still be loyal. That might have been a folly, because obviously I think the Baratheons like the offer presented by Aemon. And just another really kind of suspenseful scene, because I didn't think it was going to go the way it did. I mean, obviously you knew.
It was tense.
I think you knew Luke was definitely going to walk out of there defeated. And then he doesn't even make it out the door before Lord Strong.
Beautiful. I loved it.
Terrible. He's still doing it.
But you know what? Even though he did that, he kept his composure. And that's
He
why I
did.
give Lucerys props. Because I was thinking like, oh, okay, he's goading him. Aemon's trying to get a rise out of him. And he's going to try and do battle with him with Lord Baratheon there. He didn't do that. I mean, he was clearly bothered by it. He was clearly bothered.
He didn't want to do battle. He said, "You owe me something, and I want it."
Which you know what, I hate that. It seems that Aemon was just trying to like really torture this poor boy.
Yes.
Because it doesn't seem that he cares. I don't think he cares about his eye, because he has that sapphire now in it, and
Which is pretty
you know what
badass.
That is pretty
and
cool.
now he's also like, and from the moment he got it, he says, the it's a fair trade. I lost an eye, but I gained a dragon since the very beginning.
We
I-
thought
that's
he
what
let
I
it
was-
go.
I was waiting for Luke to basically be like, you paid, that debt was a payment for you taking Vagar, so we should be even, and that's it. Just left it at that. But instead, I was like, nope, you're just gonna run away like a little kid. Okay.
They're punks,
I think
man.
he was terrified given the circumstances. You're in this stormy
14.
land. He's 14. You're in
He's
this
a punk.
you're in this stormy town that is always raining, and you expect this guy, what's his proper name? Lord Boros?
Boros Baratheon.
Boros. And you're like, hey, Lord Boros, remember me? My mother has a message. And he's like, no, get your ass out of here, kid. I'm not
Well,
swearing field.
to
Well,
be-
well,
to be-
first he says, are you gonna, Damon has, or not Damon,
Aemon.
Aemon has offered to marry one of my daughters. Will you marry one of my daughters? And who cares? Is like, no, man, I'm sorry. I'm betrothed. I cannot. So now you're here empty-handed. Get the hell out. Get out.
Well, I kind of like that the Lord Baratheon was kind of like, oh, I'm don't want any bloodshed to happen. Like, let's just go our separate ways and beat each other on the field of battle. You know what I mean?
I did think at first he didn't want bloodshed, but then I look back at the scene. He just said, not in my house.
Yeah, he
As
said not
in-
under my roof. Yeah.
Right. So like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you guys are gonna like duke it out, I'm pushing you outside. I'm not gonna be held responsible for whatever happens here. Did he care if Luke Harris was gonna die? I really
I don't
doubt
think
it.
so. Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't think he wanted to be the inciting incident
Mhm.
that this war becomes. You know what I mean? Because right now,
Right.
nothing is leading them to war right now, besides like people begging them, like, oh, there are two. There's a king and a queen, and they don't see eye to eye on who should be who.
I will
But-
say,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no go.
I was gonna just add a little. So the books are like, they're unreliable narrators because it's all like second, third, fourth hand knowledge. But according to the books, there was the same thing that Boris said, like, not under my roof. There was an extra scene that we don't see where I believe it's one of the daughters who says something to Aemon, who like kind of eggs him on of like, oh, you're just not going to do anything, like basically kind of inciting some of the prickliness even further, which then leads to kind of the chase. And I think it's an interesting switch. Again, I think there's been a lot of switches from the books compared to the series because the books are not like first person. They're not the actual person telling what happened, that we've seen some slight changes and shifts. But my read of the show is that Aemon was like playing around, not actually wanting to harm him when they were on Dragonback, and then losing control of Aegar, and that is kind of the result. Whereas in the books, he's kind of egged on and does so purposefully, so does kill him with intent. So I thought that was an interesting shift as we start to talk about, I guess, the dragon riding scene. But there's a piece missing of, I'm curious about whether or not that was a factor. We just didn't get to see it of, like, because of Grand Master bringing up, like, well, you said not under the roof. Does that mean y'all can fight but not here? Like, take it out? Like, it's, I think that's an interesting of, like, did that actually really happen? We just didn't see it, or kind of, what resulted in that. I know what happens in the books, but this seems like a shift now being in kind of that first person rather than hearing it from someone who actually wasn't there when it occurred.
See, that makes now this very interesting as far as, yes, what is going on in Aemond's head? I think he's always felt or still holds resentment towards Luke. There was obviously the deed. Then there was the pig scene at Viserys's Last Supper, where he did not like that Luke was chuckling when they served the pig right in front of Aemond, and it reminded him of that whole, they put the wings on the pig and were making fun of him, that instance. And so, yes, I do feel I think he wanted to hurt him in that moment under the roof, but also like he was just picking a fight, not necessarily let me pick a fight to kill him, but let me just definitely pick this fight. But now it's very interesting that you mentioned the differences in the book, because he is clearly standing next to what I believe is, I guess, one of the daughters.
Well, I thought the daughters were like on the other side of Boros in that scene. Is
they
Aemon
were
next to one of them on his side?
There's a woman next to him, which I'm guessing
okay.
is is probably the woman promised to him.
Okay.
Or maybe that was the deal that was made. Is that he's going to marry one of them because he wasn't betrothed. So but yeah, that's very interesting. So are you saying in the book there is definitely malicious intent to what he's doing? Okay.
According to the narrators, again,
the non-reliable,
everything in the book could just be fuckery, because none of it's actually coming from someone who experienced it. In the show, we're getting people who are actually physically there, which makes it kind of interesting just to see where they start to make differences.
Okay.
So,
Well,
just something to think about.
And I think it's interesting because even if we know that he didn't mean to kill him, or for Luke to die, which we're here at this point with the chase and everything, but even if you were one of the Baratheon people, all you saw was Aegon demanding an eye, and then you ordered Luke to get on the dragon, right? And then Aemon flies off on his dragon. Aemon comes back and tells everyone he's the guy's dead. It's kind of like, are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna think you did it on purpose.
From everyone's perspective, right? It could just be that, Aemon did go out of his way to do it. I do like the show's interpretation of it a little bit more than how it's laid out in the books. Then I kind of like that it is just Aemon kind of messing with Luke, similar to how they always messed with him. They never really were like, oh, give me that other eye, Aemon, and chased him around. But I do like that. I think even the showrunners even said it too. It's like they're still kind of being kids in a way, kind of like chasing each other in their sports cars, but instead of a sports car, it's a giant dragon that can kill people instantly.
No, what you have here, it's the Karate Kid. It's the Karate Kid. You have Luke spraying the water on Johnny at the dance, aka Luke taking his eye, and then Aemond is Johnny Lawrence in the skull costumes, chasing him to beat him up, and then or maybe Aemond is the Karate Kid and Luke and everybody are Johnny and the skeletons.
You're
sure.
with this,
No,
man.
listen,
You're
let me
reaching
finish.
with it.
I don't know if you're keeping us with you.
I
right
got
now.
you. Ready? Vagar is Mr. Miyagi.
No, you lost me.
No, all right. Well, anyway.
Absolutely not.
Oh,
Absolutely
okay.
not.
Anyway, I think Nino's point though, then you could see how things can be twisted as far as, like, if we don't have all this information, of course people are going to put those pieces together. So I really liked you sharing that, because I'm thinking too, like, knowing how Aegon is, I imagine his reaction is going to be one of like, he's a little shit of joy. He's absolutely going to enjoy this in some way, which I imagine adds kind of fuel to the fire, even if Aemon didn't mean it. But he's now going to be considered a kinslayer, which I think is interesting because the last episode, so many people complained about Rhaenys. That's another layer of like, if she were to say, you know, set them on fire and whatnot, she's now a kinslayer. And even if there is some tension within the family, it's still not something that many people are wanting to do by their own hand. If there is a war and they just happen to die on the battlefield, they just happen to die on the battlefield. Now, if I had to physically do it, that's something that's pretty stigmatized, even if that's maybe the result they may be wanting. But regardless, now it's going to be something that follows Aemond around, which I think it'll be an interesting dynamic to his character.
I find that more interesting than him just being, let me go kill my nephew, for sure. Because now,
Right.
from what it looks like, he's going to be kind of grappling with this. Like, I did not want this to happen, but it's definitely, I played a major part in it. Because you see him and you hear him saying, you know, Vhagar, no, Vhagar, calm down.
Right.
Listen
Just
to
as
me.
Viserys said. Didn't Viserys say earlier in the season that we were all fools to think that we could tame dragons?
Did he say that?
He
said
did.
that.
Okay.
He
Oh,
said
I don't
that.
remember.
I think it was
Cats.
when the lady Lena was talking to him about riding on Valyrian or something like that. I think it was in that conversation or in that episode that he was just like, we're fools to think that we could, you know, tame these dragons. Like, they're
Mhm.
like forces of nature. They're literally forces of nature. And, you know, you put them up against the wall, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do.
Which is, you know, interesting because, you know, I mean, this is the only instance I think in the show thus far where we see two riders, because Arax, he did not tell him Dracarys on Vhagar.
He did not.
He did not. So we have two instances in this episode of the dragons not being in control, like they're not under control. And we eventually know this leads to the dragon hunting and, you know, killing dragons for sport. And it's just like, let's get rid of them all because
Wait,
I'm
what?
there are no dragons by the main series.
And it's
But
a
is
Tyrion-
I don't know if they're dragon. I think you're mixing up Avatar: The Last Airbender lore. And
No, I'm
Game of
not.
Thrones
There's no
lore.
dragons by the
Okay,
start of the
yes,
original
but-
series.
But does
But-
that mean that they were dragon hunters, like in Avatar: The Last Airbender?
They have the ballistic that they shoot at them.
Oh,
What
Those are like
what I will-
anti-dragon weapons, but I wouldn't necessarily. The way you're describing it was like, we gotta hunt these dudes down, boys, and they send out like bounty hunters to like cut these guys' heads off.
I will say it's more. There is a rebellion against the dragons, because Tyrion talks about that. I can't recall in which
Okay.
season in the original series, but there is a rebellion. I can't recall the details, but people do eventually turn against them because of just all the fighting and the destruction and the lack of control, and eventually they do die out. And so it's something I imagine we will see at some point in the future. But
And this is a little breadcrumb leading to that. They both did not have control. No one told Arax to Dracarys, and Vhagar said, I took that personally. So this is the start. This is where it begins right here. I would like to think. What a beautiful sequence too. It was really intense. Nino, I know you hate Avatar, but it gave me very Taruk Matto type of vibes. The giant
you
one.
said those words, and I have no idea what those are.
Oh, Taruk is the big one. You know, crazy how you can't hear Vhagar. I thought you would be able to hear him.
or
Her. So
Put
big.
respect on her name.
Wow! 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 Yeah, Vagar's pretty agile too. She got ahead of Asax.
But there's a
Arax.
Arax. But there's a storm. There's a storm.
There is a storm.
Yes,
You can't hear it. You can't
But they
hear
got
it.
above the
There's a
clouds, away from the storm.
I would have just stayed in those rocks.
I mean, you could have. It would have been death eventually.
No, just kind of, I don't know, stay close to rocks.
Right, Vagar can't go into the rocks. It doesn't
Amon
matter, man.
laughing.
Luke is dead. Luke is
Well,
dead.
Yeah, but it's a great scene. You hear Amon laughing too. You know, you owe me an eye.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is
know.
the most. I think this is the most cartoony the series has been so far.
How are they
um,
hearing each other in this storm?
Yeah, Amon does. They must have vocal lessons because they're just like the diaphragm can only get you so far, but damn, they have like speakers built into their throats, and then Amon is doing his best, like ha ha ha, like a generic villain laugh and threat.
He looked like a
it's very
villain this
funny.
episode. That coat.
He looked like a villain every episode.
No, but that
Well,
coat.
I just
That
like
coat.
this-
Captain Hook vibes. That's what I was getting.
little
Like-
sapphire eye.
Yeah, the sapphire eyes, like a James Bond villain. He's got the biggest dragon. I
Gold
titled this
feature.
section "How to Train Your Dragon" because both of them did not train their dragons that well. Well, I guess we get a moment of peace when he makes it to the break of the storm, and he's above the clouds, and it's a beautiful sight, beautiful little sequence.
And he gets chomped.
But you got to keep your head on a swivel. Got to keep
Chomp.
your head on a swivel.
He,
Chomped. Not a chance.
Arax, and him fell down in pieces.
Yeah.
Pieces.
Oh yeah, they even have enough room to show Luke in that rubble. He's gone.
Well, even if he did survive not getting chomped, he ain't being caught from the sky.
Yep.
Yup.
Yeah.
Sad to see him go.
R.I.P. Yeah,
R.I.P.
we've lost a lot of people. Yeah. R.I.P.
This is the
That's
first
okay.
major one of the family outside of Viserys and Emma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
And
guess
this is probably gonna start the war.
Oh, this
Yeah.
absolutely starts the war.
This is the instigating incident. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that Luke or Lucerys should be named Franz Ferdinand. Yeah,
He's not a duke.
He's a prince.
True.
close.
Yes.
And he's heir to Driftmark. So close enough.
Damn. So Driftmark don't got Vaemon. Driftmark don't got Lucerys. Who's
Yeah.
next?
Well, the last shot we get is of Rhaenyra.
Well, Damon slow walking towards Rhaenyra. Another slow walk. How do you break the news to her?
You just tell her straight. I know he didn't talk to her that long. He had like maybe 5 to 10 seconds of dialogue, so he just told her straight.
Interestingly, I have it pulled up. She is eyeballing him the whole time as he's walking towards her.
Oh yeah.
While everybody's talking and like looking at the table and moving pieces, she's just looking at him because she knows something's up. And this is the morrow. So this is gonna be her answer. Yeah, I think we all know what her answer is.
Oh, the
I
war.
thought it was great. The way she turned around, that's the face of a woman changed. She is not playing nice anymore.
Oh no.
She's
no.
done.
Cat's
She's gonna
out the
take
bag.
that little page and shred it to pieces, whatever it was that Allison gave her.
But she said that if there was gonna be a war that happened, it's not gonna be from her
Right.
making the first move. So this was them making a first move, and it wasn't it wasn't even like them announcing or anything. It was just, we're, my son's dead. Now what?
Right.
Right. And
Which
he
I'm
went there as a
curious-
messenger too.
Yeah. Because they flew out pretty far. Like, didn't they fly out into like the ocean? Kind of, when they did their little battle.
It flew. It wasn't the ocean. It was more like,
I mean, there were still
like,
rocks
because-
beforehand. Where
it's Storm's End is kind of like, it is on like the coast, so they were probably like around the coast.
okay, so then that would make sense when like the remains fell along the coastline. Because I was thinking like, yeah, how did they find the the bodies so quickly? But if it's near Storm's End still, then that would make sense.
No, I was gonna say they definitely flew somewhere where those remains could be found. So
And look at this, because this probably Rhaenyra, all the hope that Rhaenyra had to keep this like diplomatically settled, any hope that they had of peace, of coming to an agreement or whatever, died with Luke, because and it's strictly because Aemond couldn't keep his murder intent in his pants. He couldn't keep it in his pants, and he decided, he was like, he didn't have the foresight to be like, maybe I shouldn't go on a dragon during a storm and hunt down my nephew, because if anything happens, now we're all gonna inadvertently start things that I don't know if we're ready for. But of course, no one cares. All they care about is, oh, give me an eye. You owe me an eye.
I mean, we said it before. At the end of the day, because it goes, if we're talking youngest, Luke and Aemond are the youngest
No,
Out of who?
out of just kind of the children.
the kids.
No. Joffrey.
No, I'm sorry. I guess I meant the first generation, the first little batch of children.
There's
Yeah,
a
it's
child
technically
we
him.
haven't. There's
read
a child
about-
we haven't met who's in Old Town.
I read about that child that we haven't met. They
Whose
say
child
that
is
child, Alicent's.
Alicent's.
Allison.
It's
From
Alice's
Viserys.
fourth child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I
say
think it's
they
like
have
Dave-
plans for him.
Yeah, Daron, something like that. He's also Dragon Rider, by the way.
And he's just not here. This is crazy how they went a whole season without mentioning him. Not even a mention. Only book fans spotted that he hasn't been mentioned. But the showrunner says he's coming. They got
Because
plans.
they didn't
for
have
him.
room for him.
I guess not. I guess not.
On season 1.
But what I was getting at is they are all kids. They're all stupid. This boy, Luke, is over here crying about not being a Valarian, and he's a strong, when he should have been out there practicing sword fighting or maneuvers with Arax. And yet he's over here being a big baby. He loses that fight 10 times out of 10. He loses. And now his betrothed can't marry her cousin, aka another grandchild. Now what? Only one grandchild gets married to another grandchild. It's unbalanced now. So there's that part too. I'm disappointed in her kids. And you know what? They're not his kids, but Daemon should have been out there teaching them the sword better. Because Sir Harwin Strong would not have allowed these guys to go so long without picking up a sword. I'm just throwing that out there too. So this is their fault. They need to step their game up.
They do.
That's where I stand. But
Are you
There's
strong
one other
in that
thing.
stance?
they're not strong enough. Strong. I think actually we forgot one thing, but I think it's cool if this is the last thing as far as what they shown us in the show. We get Daemon entering the Dragon Keep, or a Dragon's Keep, or where this dragon is. And he's singing old Valyrian, High Valyrian. And I thought this was a really cool scene, how you see the silhouette of Vermithor.
Second largest dragon
Is that right? He's the second largest.
compared to Vagar,
Uh,
yeah, from what I remember.
There's a lot of buzz around Vermithor.
Do we know whose dragon he was before?
He's not anybody's, I don't think.
Well, I mean,
think
is he one of those older dragons, like how Vagar was?
No, Vagar's
originally-
the only older. Vagar's the last one of the older dragons from Old Valyria.
I think he was
Okay.
just hatched and nobody claimed him.
The second largest dragon? Jeez. Well, I guess once you claimed one, can you claim multiple dragons, or is it like a 1v1 type of
you-
deal?
You can ride multiple dragons, but you don't bond. You only bond with one.
Right, because that's the one that's born alongside you, right? You know, the whole thing with the baby and the egg.
Typically,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
If it hatches.
Right.
If it
so,
hatches.
So Damon could technically ride that dragon if he wanted to.
Yeah, you
Ye-
can ride a dragon.
Okay.
Right. Just, is this going to be a big enough game changer? What is the game changer here? Is it more houses or more dragons? And I guess that's what season 2 is going to answer. But Damon for sure as hell thinks more dragons is going to help. And it looked like they met eye to eye, him and Vermithor.
Yeah. He didn't necessarily hesitate.
And
Uh,
actually, you could see in his eyeball, he reaches out his hand. I think they like each other. So
They do.
cool. They get another dragon.
And
But
then the season ends.
season's over. House of the Dragon. Season 2. What? 2024? Is that a thing?
I don't think they gave it. Did they give a date already?
Everybody's been saying 2 years.
Well, I was saying 2 years because that's just the most logistic way to do it. Like, there's no way a new season's coming out next year.
Game of Thrones used to have a season come out every year.
Yeah, but
Every year?
because of
Yes.
every year, but because of this is the first season, because they would, it came out. You remember the first season just finished airing, and it's the end of October, so they didn't know if this series is going to be renewed for a season 2 when they were making it, like they were hoping, but HBO didn't give them the go ahead until literally the day after episode 1 aired. So they put it late in the year. Now they have to have a whole year to film, schedule, make sure everyone's schedule is right, get everyone on board, then they film everything, edit. It's probably going to be 2024, like around this time. But maybe since it's the wait between season 2 and 3 won't be as long, because they know they're probably going to be greenlit till the end of the series.
They'll just keep pushing them out at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Fine. I guess. What are we looking forward to? I know we have some knowledgeable people here. I guess I'm looking forward to definitely the response to the death of Lucerys. I would like to see again. I mean, Rhaenyra kind of, we've been saying as far as, outside of her claim, why does she care about the realm? I like the fact that she says she doesn't want to see the realm in ashes. I would like to see the extent to that reasoning goes, as far as is she going to really be a queen of the people or what's going on? I don't know. But the battles here, I'm excited for more battles. I'm sure season 2 might be similar to season 2 of Game of Thrones with the Clash of Kings. Now we have the Dance of Dragons.
Civil War.
Right. Love to see Lord Corlys back in action. That's just me. I mean, I feel the groundwork is there. Everything that we already know what's going to happen. But what are y'all most interested to see moving forward in the next season?
Just kind of pick up where we left off here. I want to see where Jacaerys, like what's his situation like? Because he still also went out to one of the houses to have them
Two.
join. Two of them?
He
Oh,
went to the Eyrie to what do you call
okay.
it? With
Aaron's.
The
the
Aarons.
Aarons. And
Okay.
then
He
he's
went to
going
Starks.
to Winterfell to be pals with
Starks.
Cregan Stark. Is that his name? Cregan?
Kragan.
Mhm.
Right.
Cregan Stark. We're like,
Okay.
here, men, go do men things with each other.
I
He should say
I
that.
want to see the status to that. I want to see an update. I want to see how Rhaenyra's game changes from here on out, because again, she was kind of wanting to be on the level playing field of like, no, I'm not going to go to war with my childhood friend. Let's try and, figure out ways to balance things out a little bit. The death of her son changes everything. She's not playing nice anymore. I really want to see how that changes her character and maybe how that affects her relationship with those around her. With Daemon, with the rest of the people that, looked up to her and bent the knee to her, like Rhaenys. I wonder if Rhaenys's opinion of her may change a little bit. Or will Rhaenys be the voice of reason now going forward? There's just a lot of dynamics with the death of Rhaenyra's child that I'm really interested in to look into for a season 2. And just, the chaos of a civil war is starting. Like, there should be major battles in season 2. I expect that. A lot of season 1 was build up to this explosion at the end of season 1. So I expect big things from season 2.
I expect more dragons.
How many
Got a
did
good
we get?
amount.
We had like what,
Maybe,
10? 9?
yeah.
About.
Maybe
Yeah.
season 2 of House of the Dragon will be called House of Dragons now. So it will be
plural?
more dragons.
Oh,
S.
put the S. What is this? Alien and Aliens.
Yes.
Gross.
What a sequel change.
Well, I am similar to y'all. I hope there isn't. I don't know how they'll start the season. I kind of want it to like immediately. I would love to know the Greens' reaction to what happened with Aemon and Luke. I think we got just a little sliver of at least Rhaenyra's reaction, but I'd like an immediate pickup. And then there's some other stuff that kind of excited to see as far as interactions and maybe characters we haven't seen yet, and dragons as well. And then the theory that I won't say now because it is my hope that we will see it pretty soon in season 2. So I'm gonna hold on to that for I guess the next 2 years. That I look forward to as well. So yeah, so lots of action and intrigue. I think this was a good season. I enjoyed the build up, and it's about to be a whirlwind. So
I concur. This was a good season. I thought the time jumps and the changing of actors different, but they made it work. Surprisingly, I was still much invested. Crazy enough, they still made it feel like a cohesive season versus the time jumps feeling out of place. They never felt out of place. I guess they had some strong anchors with the cast members who weren't recasted in the time jumps that brought it all together. It was a lot of fun to be had here. I think in a show like Game of Thrones that focuses on so many different families, it was really fun to watch one family and watch it splinter, at some parts watch it grow, and in some parts watch it literally be like, that's not actually your family member. It was a lot of fun and it very well acted. Game of Thrones proper. They did a great job casting, and the dragons. I really enjoyed the dragons, and yeah, I really enjoyed House of the Dragon. Sad to see it go. But I'm happy. I might put people onto this show before I put them onto the original. So
Really?
just timeline wise.
It's
Okay.
better. I think it's been handled better. Not because of like I feel like the highs of the original series are still yet to be topped.
Correct.
But unfortunately, I do feel that a lot of the missteps that are present in the original series, like especially in the later series, uh, are not present right now, which is great. So I understand that reasoning. Like, get them on here first, then show them the original series and be like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And maybe it will, maybe they'll be like, oh, the Song of Ice and Fire, I know that. That's what do you call it? That's what Rhaenyra was fighting for this whole time. And then when they learn Jon Snow's Aegon Targaryen, it's him, the Leonardo DiCaprio. Maybe they'll
Yeah,
actually be excited for that. Who knows?
perhaps they will. I can see people getting on with the prequel first, getting hooked that way. So
Just call us George Lucas, and that's what he thought when he was making his movie.
it's like poetry; it rhymes.
Sure. Dr. Jason, any final thoughts on the season?
No, just it was really good. I guess I'm curious. I would have to go back and rewatch all the other seasons, which I'm not gonna do. But how would you say this compares to like some of the other seasons of Game of Thrones? Like, would you say not 1-to-1 comparison, but like, did you meet the same highs that you wanted to meet in this season
Yeah.
compared to other seasons of Game of Thrones where maybe you didn't meet too many highs, maybe you had a lot of lows? Like for me, I know probably the weakest season outside of season 8, obviously terrible. I don't know, I guess I was kind of like running around slow with season 5 and watching that back then. But again, I would have to go back and watch all of that stuff, but I'm not gonna do that anytime soon. But yeah, how would you rank it, like, in terms of like what you were enjoying watching compared to the other seasons of Game of Thrones?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah.
Well, I know this. You care to disagree? This was better than season 5 of Game of Thrones. Probably majority of season 6 of Game of Thrones and 7 and 8. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I feel like this season had like a purpose, like it knew what it was doing. I think ever since that me and Grandmaster Hoop watched that video of this creator who said when they ran out of ideas for a scene in Game of Thrones, they just insert a cock joke or a sex joke, and none of that was present here. These characters felt like they were going towards something always, even if we kind of didn't agree with it, because this really is Rich People Problems, the series. But it does feel like these characters have purpose in every scene that they're in.
I will say I was a latecomer to Game of Thrones. I'd initially watched the first season and then did not move on until many years later. So right before season 8, I binged all 7 seasons. So I feel like I don't really have a good grasp of, because everything is just one big lump together. So I will refrain from giving any opinion. I did feel this similar to what Nino just shared. It felt like it had purpose and it moved, I felt, at a good pace, and the time jumps made sense, even though I imagine there's some stuff we would have loved to have seen, at least with character development, but I was able to keep track of everything. So it felt kind of like a classic type of ideation of Game of Thrones. You get the political intrigue, lots of good dialogue, really good solid acting, a couple set pieces here and there, which is what you want, I guess, out of a Game of Thrones season. So
Yeah, I think they hit all the checkpoints of what made the original series great. But as we said too, do they sometimes slip into the same problems as the original? Yes, but I think they're doing a better job at checking themselves. But they still have their own issues when we talked about this in terms of depictions of certain aspects, and whether it's from the female lens or a male gaze. sometimes it can be depicted in a way that doesn't sit well with us. Well, hopefully these people listen to what the fans have to say, and hopefully they hear our enjoyment. We would love to see more. I think everybody is in agreement. They would love to see more. Can there be things to be done better? Sure. And can they improve upon what was already good? Yes, I think they can. And therefore, I believe the Yonko table will be back to cover season 2, whenever that may come about. But we will be there for sure. And I think that's it from us here at the Yonko table. We're closing the book of Fire and Blood, and we're going to reopen it maybe in our off hours, and we might spoil ourselves. 2 years is a long time. Some of us maybe not. But we know when season 2 drops, we'll be here and we'll give you our unfiltered opinions. Okay? So listen, folks, we appreciate y'all sticking through these last 10 episodes of House of the Dragon. Be sure to catch up on all the episodes we covered 1 through 10. Be sure on your various podcast listening stations, YouTube. If you love to see our faces, we're there. And of course, be sure to keep up with us and everything else we got going on through social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got great content popping on TikTok, and then we'll also be on Twitch here and there. Catch Dr. Jace Attorney. But folks, House of the Dragon has burned its way into our hearts, and we're here for it, and we're burning for some Team Black, Team Green. We here for it. But without further ado, folks, I am Grand Maester Hoop, fellow Yonko, Dr. Jace Attorney, Supernovas, Dr. Rika, and Nino Desplazado. One time, pour one out for your boy, Lucerys. Pour one out for him. Arax, we hardly knew thee. But we glad Corlys alive, baby.
Talk to me, baby.
Hey. We still got representation. They said, well, you can't kill 2 black men. You can't kill 2. So we still in here, baby. But hey, folks, without further ado, that's it from us at the Yonko table. We'll catch you next time. Sure, I don't know when you'll hear from us next time. Wakanda Forever coming up, folks. That's going to be a big one. We'll see you then. We got everything going on. So yeah. We'll see you then. Take care, folks.